I used to live in Fayetteville for about 15 years, and I want to make sure that you know what it's really like to live there. So let's talk about what it's like living in Fayetteville, Georgia. In general, Fayetteville is a very suburban area, and so you got a lot of neighborhoods throughout the entire city with some commercial areas here and there, some shopping centers and some restaurants in different parts. And we're going to talk about where those shopping centers are and what are the best areas of Fayetteville. We'll also talk about like the cost of living and what the culture is like there and what the schools are like. But first off, I really want to make sure that you understand it is a typical suburban area. And this is one of the things that brings so many people to the area. They're looking for these kinds of family-friendly atmospheres that you find in Fayetteville. And then also Fayetteville's on the southern side of Metro Atlanta. And so it's a bit different than some of the northern cities. I'd say the culture and kind of the vibe of the people on the south side of Metro Atlanta are a bit more like genuine. It's a great area to make community, to build community and make friends there on the south side. And so this is certainly something that I miss about living in Fayetteville. It's a great area. In fact, if you're really from Fayetteville, you don't necessarily call it Fayetteville. If you're like been there, born and raised, many people call it Fayetteville. Fayetteville is from, if you got that southern accent, and you're like, oh, I'm from Fayetteville. That's how you're supposed to say it if you're from that area, but whatever you want to call it, Fayetteville, whatever it is. I actually went to high school in Fayetteville. I loved that area. Again, I lived there for so long and I miss it. And so it's certainly a great area, but let's talk specifically about some of the different aspects of living in Fayetteville. What's up, y'all? My name is Victor with Atlanta Suburban Living, and we put out videos every week about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the suburbs around Atlanta. Another thing that you really should know about when it comes to Fayetteville is how much the homes cost and what the homes are like, and like how much land you get for your money in that area. And so typically you're looking at a home price of about at least $350 in Fayetteville. You can find homes far higher. $350 is kind of like the minimum that you're looking at for a home there. Many of the neighborhoods have HOAs, but I would say that most of the neighborhoods, or there's not as many neighborhoods on the south side of Metro Atlanta like Fayetteville that have as many HOAs. The neighborhoods are not as commonly with an HOA as they are on the north side. So like when you're looking at one of the northern Metro Atlanta suburbs like Marietta or Alpharetta, it's like 95%, 99% maybe of the neighborhoods have HOAs, pretty much all of them. On the south side of Metro Atlanta like Fayetteville, you don't have as many neighborhoods with HOAs. It may be more like 50% of the neighborhoods. And so this is far less common in Fayetteville. And these HOAs are, pros and cons. I mean, I personally am a fan of the HOAs. They're not like other states. They're not difficult. They're not trying to be a pain in the ass to the neighbors. They're just there to protect the property values. And they're also there to collect money for like the use of the pool and the clubhouse. They don't collect enough money to pay a Karen to drive around in the golf cart and like complain about the size of your bushes or like the height of your grass. It's not like that here in Metro Atlanta. But of course, if you don't have an HOA, you've got a little more leniency with, what kind of vehicles you can park in the driveway or what you can do in the backyard, things like that. And of course, some people want that kind of freedom. And so for that reason, Fayetteville might be a good area. Less HOAs, less restrictions. And so this is kind of one of the things that brings a lot of people to that area. The home ages in Fayetteville, you're typically looking at about 80s and 90s homes. There are some parts of Fayetteville that are seeing some new construction, but a lot of that city was developed during the 80s and 90s, and so you have a lot of homes from that age. It's also more common to be able to get larger land lots for your home in Fayetteville than it is in some of the northern Metro Atlanta suburbs. So finding a home with 1 acre of land is far more common in Fayetteville than some of the other suburbs of Metro Atlanta. Another thing you should think about when you're moving to Fayetteville is the difference between like South Fayetteville and North Fayetteville. If you plan on moving here, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. Thanks so much to everybody who has reached out. I'm always happy to help. Even if you just have a question about what it's like to live in any one of these parts of Metro Atlanta or Fayetteville, I'm happy to help. But the north part of Fayetteville is a small amount different than the south part of Fayetteville. And there's kind of two major roads that go through Fayetteville, Highway 54 and Highway 85. And 54 goes east and west, and 85 goes north and south. And so the northern part of Fayetteville, I would say, is a bit more it is a bit more congested, but I'm hesitant to use that word because it's not like congested like Atlanta. It's just a bit more densely populated. And the southern part of Fayetteville is a bit less densely populated. I'm talking about a very small difference. Don't picture like North Fayetteville is like a big city and South Fayetteville is like a small town. It's not like that. It's a small difference. There just is a bit more things going on in North Fayetteville. Another way to think about it is that the northern part of Fayetteville is the part that's closest to Atlanta, and the southern part of Fayetteville is obviously farther from Atlanta. And so typically what we see in general in Metro Atlanta is that the growth or the development of the areas tends to go outward away from Atlanta. And so in Fayetteville, you have the more developed part on the north side of Highway 85 and the less developed part on the south side of 85. This also means that the homes are a bit more expensive on the south part of 85. The land lots are a bit bigger on the south part. Again, less developed on the south part of Fayetteville, more developed on the north part. In general, the people are very friendly in Fayetteville. Again, I miss living there. People are very neighborly, very open and welcoming. And so this is something that is a great part about living in Fayetteville. Very nice and friendly. And so I know a lot of people who move here from Metro Atlanta, especially from like New York or maybe California, often tell me that like they're surprised at how friendly people are here in Georgia. And that's something that I'm so proud of. I'm so appreciative of how welcoming Georgia is. I don't think we get enough credit for that. And Fayetteville is one of the most friendly cities, I would say, in all of Metro Atlanta. And then when it comes to the cost of living, again, for houses, minimum $350 for a house. Average is probably about $450 to $500. When it comes to things like gas and groceries and utilities, you're looking at about $3 a gallon today, the beginning of March, for gas. For groceries, of course, this is going to depend big on which grocery store you go to. If you're going to the less expensive grocery store like Aldi or Lidl, which is my favorite, you're going to pay less for groceries. And more expensive grocery stores like Whole Foods or Publix, obviously your grocery bill is going to be a bit higher. But the thing is that the Fayetteville has all of these grocery stores. You have the whole range from Kroger and Publix to Whole Foods and Aldi. All of these options are available in or around very close to Fayetteville. Now, you might have to drive quite a bit to get there. You know, you may be used to another part of the country where everything is super close, 5-minute drive or walking distance. In Fayetteville, it's not quite like that. Again, you have a lot of neighborhoods with a few specific commercial areas, and so you may be driving 10 to 15 minutes to get to a grocery store. And so for some people, that's kind of a long drive just for groceries, but certainly a major part of living in Fayetteville is how much more spread out things are in that city. And then when it comes to utilities, electric bill, water bill, a big part of that depends on whether or not the home has natural gas. If the home has natural gas, you're looking at an average about $100 to $150 for electric, $100 for natural gas, and for the water bill, I don't know, something like $50. Like, it obviously depends on how much of the water you're using. And so for my family of 4, our water bill comes out to an average of about $50 per month. And then if the home does not have natural gas, you obviously would not have a natural gas bill, but the electric bill would come out to like $200 or $250 per month. When it comes to the public schools, in general, Fayette County is known for having some of the best public schools in all of Metro Atlanta, especially compared to other suburbs on the south side. So some of these school ratings you kind of have to take with a grain of salt because there's 100 different resources for rating these public schools, and they don't always kind of line up with the similar quality ratings. And so we very often here on the channel use greatschools.org. but I've just looked up the public school ratings for Fayetteville, and I don't 100% agree. Fayetteville Elementary School is an 8 out of 10. Bennett's Mill Middle School is an 8 out of 10. And then Fayette County High School is a 7 out of 10. And this is going to be probably really surprising for many people to hear that Fayette County High School is a 7 out of 10. Many people would probably have assumed in that area, like the residents of Fayetteville, if you ask them, they would probably say that Fayette County High School was like a 9 out of 10. So you have to take these school ratings and kind of look at other sources as well to really get a whole picture for what the schools are like. But as someone who lived in Fayetteville, I can assure you the public schools there are a little bit better than those ratings that I just listed off. 8, 8, 7. I would say they're probably more like 999. This is kind of the general feel of many of the residents of Fayetteville. In general, this is a great place to live. If you're thinking about living in Fayetteville, you're gonna be in a great area. There are so many great things about Fayetteville. Again, I used to live there. I miss it so much. I definitely think it's a good area, but there are some things about Fayetteville that make it not so great. You know, there's some parts about Fayetteville that maybe would be red flags for some people. And so if you're thinking about moving to this area, you really got to get the whole picture. We don't want to just gloss over all of the bad things and only talk about the good things. So we want to make sure that you understand what the bad sides are of Fayetteville as well. So I've made an entire video about why I left Fayetteville. If you want to check out that video and understand why I left this city, you can see it right here. I'll see you in the next video.